Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Archery Project. We are live. We got old Mr. Zack Rhodes in the house.
What's going on?
Dude, appreciate you coming by this morning. I know it's early. I know you start working a little later today, but I appreciate you taking the time to come by and talk. You've been, turkey hunting we're in the mix of it right now, towards the later half of the season, huh?
Yeah, we just started the third week. So it's a 4-week season roughly.
Yeah, so you've been going hard, I know, and absolutely smashing turkeys. Not only for yourself, but pretty much everybody you've taken out with you.
Well, I shot my first bird on Sunday, and then shot another bird on Thursday of the first week, and they're all evil, and they all need to die, and I'll gladly call them in. But we shot one this morning.
So yeah, you've been going hard, man. I mean, you started the season off with a bang. You got it done right away, which I knew you were going to. I mean, I've known you for a little while now, and I mean, you are the outdoorsman, right? Not just one particular, species do you hunt, but you hunt, you trap, you fish, you do it all. So you've got a lot of experience across the U.S. as well, not just East Coast, but we're talking, the western part of the state too. You've done elk. I mean, you've guided, you've done all kinds of stuff, man. So you've got a vast amount of experience, and it's very obvious with your approach to things, right? You just look at things, you read terrain really, really well. You've got an eye for things, and you just understand the lay of the land and how animals move, at least from me observing outside.
And it's just practice, I think, just doing it over and over again, getting your butt kicked by a bird that has the brain the size of a pea, and you're like, why is he kicking my butt? But eventually you win that battle,
Right. So that's what we're talking about today, right? We're diving into the turkey side of things, and we're going to talk, cover everything, strategies, mistakes, tips, tactics, and, there's no better person to talk to about it than you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, impressive. It's always impressive talking to you when it comes to anything hunt related, because you are not about the equipment. You are about the strategy and the tactics in order to get it done. I think you could get it done with whatever I handed you. If I gave you a spoon and told you to go get something, I feel like you'd be the one to get it done.
I would try to get it done. Absolutely.
I believe it, man.
My parents used to call me the catcher of things.
The catcher of things? Okay, so what does that mean?
My mom, she took away my pellet gun, right?
I could see why.
There's one rule in my household. Don't shoot her songbirds. And, there's this goldfinch. And I'm like, oh, man, look at that. I'm 8 years old. And I shot at it, and she caught me. So she took all my hunting stuff away, all my pellet gun, my little bow that I had. And I was like, well, I still want to, so I'm going to try to catch a bird with my hands. And I found a way that if I could angle myself correctly, and there's a bird feeder, that I couldn't see me through the bird feeder. And sure enough, it took me a couple of days, but I caught a bird with my hand. Dude. And so they started calling me the catcher of things.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me, I saw something on social media, it's been a few weeks, but there's this chick, she's got glasses on, and she's got a plate that's attached to the glasses that sets right here, and she puts bird food in it.
Hummingbird.
Yeah. Yeah. Impressive. I mean, strategy, man. If you can think about it, you can make it happen.
It's just time.
Yeah.
It takes time. You know what I mean?
That's it. I think that's one of the big things is I was listening to a podcast, I think this morning, it was just talking about getting your reps in no matter what you do. I mean, whatever it is you're chasing or doing, whether it's business, it's hunting, it's financial, whatever, it's repetition and learning and understanding the game in order to be good at it. It doesn't just happen.
And a lot of that's from mistakes. I've learned more in the woods from blowing a deer out or blowing a turkey out, and I've learned way more than I have from my successes, because a lot of times the success, you just can't do anything wrong. It feels like,
right.
With elk, it'll be the hardest 10-day hunt of your life, but when it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, and you can't do anything wrong. And you don't learn, you learn some from it, but you're not going to learn as much as when that bull or that deer comes downwind of you and you realize, well, shoot, I called from the wrong spot, and I gave him that opportunity to wrap down, downwind of me, stuff like that. And I've learned way more from my mistakes than I have my failures, if you want to call it hunting.
You can't even really call it a failure, I don't think.
No.
And I think too, the reason for me looking back at it is whenever something doesn't go as planned, I sit on it a lot longer and I think about it and I kind of recap it more than I do with something that I ultimately walk away successful with, right? I just sit back and, you think like what all went wrong, and then you're able to kind of break it down a little bit more. And then, oh, well, no wonder.
First one, I made a mistake. It was my second year elk hunting and I wasn't guiding at the time and the wind was quartering me and I called to a bull and he came down the hill to me and he wrapped around downwind of me. And I didn't take that extra 5 minutes to say, okay, he's here. I need to get my wind perfect. I need to get my wind right so that he can't do that. And he skirted me at 72 yards, and I could never get a shot. And I probably, with how much I've been shooting now, I probably could. I could definitely hit him,
get it done,
kill him. Yeah, I think so. But if you're not confident, I wasn't confident at that distance. But that was a big learning experience for me, is to take the time to set up correctly. And that's especially with turkey hunting, take the time to set up correctly, because anything, you're talking about a bird that has a brain the size of a pea, creeks, thick brush, fence lines. They don't want to go through it. It's weird. When they're regular feeding, when they're just moving through and they're, traversing terrain, they don't have an issue with it. They'll pitch over a creek or they'll pitch over a fence. They'll do this. But for some reason, when they're coming to a call, every little thing is going to affect that. You know what I mean? And so taking the time to set up and say, okay, listen, this is where this bird is at. What do I have in between me and him that could mess me up?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or with him hanging up. Because in reality, in the wild, the tom gobbles so that the hens can hear him. And he struts so that the hens can see him. Every bird does it. Every bird does it. And if you're not set up correctly, he's going to get to a point where he says, she should be able to hear me and see me. And in the wild, the hens come to the toms. 9 times out of 10, that's how it works. And if you're not set up correctly, he's going to hang up. Those guys, you hear it all the time. I'm on a public turkey hunter forum, and guys all the time would be like, I got a bird at 100 yards. He won't come any closer. What do I do? Move. Get up.
So your strategy is you're not a, sit and wait. And this is, I think, from what I've known you, a lot of your hunting is you're very proactive as a hunter, which is what I think of when I think hunter, right? Somebody that actively hunts and makes things happen, doesn't wait for things to happen. You go create the opportunities, which is very cool to see, right? Because there's a lot more, it's more action packed, especially when you tell the story. You come in, whatever you're hunting, you put eyes on it and then you moved towards it to close the distance and then ultimately, come out successful or,
Yeah.
not.
For me, I like this morning.
Yeah, because you guys were just out. So when I say that Zack hunts a lot, literally I have to worry about him not coming to work. Because
or just showing up late.
Or just showing up late. Because like this morning, right? So I messaged you last night. I'm like, hey, dude, we got an opportunity because we're going to TAC this week. Let's sit down and do a podcast. We haven't been able to do it yet. Let's do it this morning. You're like, check, good to go. I'll be there. I'm like, all right, cool, man. And then you sent a group picture. There's a dead turkey. He took Chase out and they got on a turkey this morning. So fresh out of the field in here to do a podcast after getting it done on the turkey.
Home. I did have time to trim my beard up. I was looking pretty ragged. But yeah, it was so this morning, we get in there, and I don't wake up super early. I'm not one of those guys where, I'm going to get in there when it's pitch black and why, right? Why? I like to get in there, especially when I don't know where the birds are. It'd been probably about a week since we had hunted this property, and this was the property that I had shot my first bird off of. And we've been hunting. There's 3 toms in there, and I hunted them last year, and the year before. I call them the 3 brothers. Now, am I saying that these are the same birds? No. But for the last 2 years, 3 years, I've seen 3 birds that run together all year round. So I shot one of them on Sunday, and then we stayed out of there for a week. And I got in there just before daylight. We were walking to where I figured they would be roosted by, and he gobbled at me. Or he gobbled at a crow flying by. And I was like, cool, we're in business. From that moment, when I hear a bird gobble, I'm thinking, okay, is it realistic that I'm going to call him? right? I think the big mistake number one people make is they think that turkey's going to go out of their way to find you. They're not, especially late season. These birds down here in North Carolina, a lot of your East Coast, South Carolina, Alabama, they've been breeding since March. So a lot of your hens are bred. That's why you're seeing all these lone hens in the fields with no toms with them. Well, it's because they're just nesting. So, and you're seeing a lot of birds grouped together. You're seeing a lot of toms that are grouped together. And you're like, well, why are they grouped together? Well, because the breeding is winding down. So birds are starting to come back together. And if you're not in their bedroom, they're not going to give you the time of day. So what I'll do is I'll hear a bird gobble, and I'll say, okay, he's 200, 300 yards away. I'm not going to sit down and call to a bird that's 300 yards away. It doesn't do anything. It's like wiping before you poop. It's useless.
Right.
So what I do is I'll get in, try to get it within 150 yards, 100 yards. I'm going to call to him. If he doesn't answer me, cool. I'm going to keep pushing the envelope. This bird we got to within 70 yards. I sat down and called, and he gobbled at me. I was like, now we're in the game. And the later in the season, to a degree, you got to be in the bedroom. You got to be close to him. You got to get him fired up, because the majority of the mornings he's kind of fired up. He's gobbling, but a lot of it's shot gobbles, which is a car horn or a crow flying by or fire trucks. For some reason, they love. If you hear a fire truck, start listening for gobbles, because they just get fired up. I think it's because it sounds like coyotes. That's another reason.
That's funny though, because like when you and Cody went out,
yeah,
in the middle of nowhere, and then there's fire trucks and ambulances driving by you, and like, well,
they doubled and triple gobbled at this fire truck, and I'm like, I've been calling to you for an hour, and you haven't made a peep, and so maybe that's another trick. Maybe you can use a recording of a fire truck that gets them just fired up. But no, so a lot of it's shot gobbles right now at this time of year. And you're looking for that one bird that's fired up. He wakes up, he feels good. It's cold this morning. Everybody wants to hunt when it's hot. If I have to wear a sweatshirt in the morning under my jacket, I'm feeling confident about that they're going to be fired up. So yeah, I'm going to get it within 100 yards. That's my goal, is 100 yards, depending on terrain. If it's thick, I'm going to try to get closer. And then I sit down and I call. And the moment he does something I don't want him to do, I'm moving. I'm not one of those people that's going to let a bird walk out of my life. If he starts pushing the other way, cool, we're moving. We sat there for 20 minutes, saw him pitch off. They pitched down, started going the other way, and I was like, hey, we're moving. Let's go. And we got up, and it was a 30-yard move. That's it. But it's just calling from a different direction. And it also, I think it mimics movement. No hen is going to sit there for an hour and a half and just calling in the same exact spot.
Right.
But if that hen's moving through and kind of following them, and I think it kind of gets those birds thinking, well, she's trying to get to us. And that's something that's from a hunt. That is my game plan. Get close, call to him. If he doesn't do something I want him to do, I'm moving. I'm moving, calling from a different angle, trying to get closer. And go from there.
Essentially be proactive.
Be proactive. I am a worst case scenario kind of guy. I think one day you said to me, you always seem to be in the right spot. And it's because I am constantly thinking, well, what if he comes this way? What if he comes this way? And then sometimes he does, and I've thought about it, and I do it, and he's dead.
Yep. I mean, that is one of the things, like, we talk about, because, you always shoot me a text as soon as you kill something, which is, I feel like I get a ton of text messages because you constantly kill things. Deer season, doesn't matter. Fish, catching fish left and right. But that's one of the things, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of paralysis by analysis, right, in the hunting world. I think that's big. I think it's very common. I think people are scared to do things because they feel like they're going to screw it up. Which your approach is a little bit different. It's like, why am I going to sit here and wait for something to come to me? It's not going to happen. I need to move towards it and then create that opportunity.
It's kind of like that guy at a bar, and there's that girl that he likes. He's like, I'm afraid to ask for a number. Well, what if she said? What if she says no? Well, then you're in the same position you are now.
Yeah,
let's go for it. If you booger him, well,
there's another day, man. There's another property. There's another opportunity.
Day. Yeah. And if you're smart when you move, obviously you don't want to be running through the woods after them and stuff. You're typically not going to booger them. It's not going to happen. But when it does, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
So what about when it comes to locating birds? So how are you like turkeys? I mean, they see everything, right? You know, you're trying to move. I mean, you got to be very cautious. Obviously it's a little bit different. You know, everyone out there is fully in full camouflage. I mean, faces are either painted or covered or whatnot. So you got to be very cautious about how you move through the woods because they pick up any kind of movement very easy from a far distance, right? Yep. So how are you scouting birds without bumping them? Is it typically, are you going out and scouting just from a distance, glassing? Are you scouting in the evening? Are you scouting in the morning whenever you're trying to locate?
For locating, best way to do it is to be out there. You know, I'm going to get out there when they're gobbling. The time that they're gobbling the most is in the morning. Do an owl hoot. There's people out there that can do an owl hoot with their voice. I can't do it. It sounds stupid, and I'm not going to embarrass myself to do it. So I've got an owl hooter that I use. And I'm not trying to get the turkeys fired up, but I'm going to try to get the owls fired up. So if I can get the owls fired up, they're going to hoot for me, and they're going to do my job for me. That way I don't have to worry about it. They're going to be hooting, and the birds are gobbling at those birds or at the owls, and that's how I know I can move. When it comes to scouting, though, I'm looking for tracks. And so scratching, where it's still, you know, it hasn't dried out from that sun yet. I'm looking for gobbler tracks, especially. And hens, they have got 3 feet. I'm not sure if they can see it on the camera, but they've got 3 feet, and it looks exactly like this. Yep. And all 3 feet are the same length. Well, Tom, his track's going to be that, you know, it's going to, that middle finger is going to be longer.
Gotcha.
So you're looking for that kind of track. If I'm seeing strut marks, you know, like just marks in the sand or whatever, that's what I'm looking for, an active bird doing that. But I hunt a lot of birds in the swamp, especially on state land, and you're not going to find that. And it all comes down to hearing them off the roost.
Gotcha.
Is letting the owls work for you. You know, everybody wants to get a crow call. There's some properties that have, you know, that it's really works well on, but I'm more of an owl hooter kind of guy. I'm going to let those owls go off and let those birds talk to those owls. And then while he's doing that, I'm just moving and I'll move 50 yards and I'll stop and I'll wait. And then I'll gobble again. I'm okay, cool. This is where he's at. And I just keep working my way to him. And when I feel like I'm close enough to get into his comfort zone, that's when I start to sit down. That's when the chess match begins.
Gotcha. So for you, do you enjoy hunting the mornings more than anything, as most people do? Yeah. But what about like strategy wise? Because I mean, obviously you don't just hunt mornings, you hunt afternoons as well. You hunt all the time. I mean, you spend a ton of time in the woods. I mean, how does your strategy differ from morning to evening or midday, whatever?
Right. So actually, I've killed a lot more birds in mid morning from 10 o'clock till 2
when no one's out there.
That and the day in a life of a gobbler, right, is he gets up, gobbles, he struts off the limb. Typically, the hens are going to pitch to him. He pitches down to the hens, and he's going to harass them and strut around, and everybody's like, oh, he's got hens. Yep, good luck. Unless you get that hen to come to you, you can try a kiki run. That's an adolescent turkey. You can try that, trying to get her to come to you. But eventually, around 10, 11 o'clock, those hens are going to get tired of them, and they're gonna run away from them. I watched it. I killed a bird 2 years ago that way, just sitting there. He had hens, and I just sat there and waited. I didn't call to him. I didn't do nothing. And finally, his hen left. I mean, he turned around to strut at something else, and she just darted into the woods. And he turned around, and then I was like, oh, hello. And I called to him, and he on a death march coming to me. That was at 11:30 in the morning when everybody's out of the woods. Mm-hmm. That's when it gets good. As strategy wise, though, they're not going to be fired up. Sometimes you will. You'll strike up a tom, you know, just walk through the woods and call and stuff like that. But when it comes to where I'm going to sit, I base a lot of it off of what I'm seeing in the morning. You know, if I know that they're roosted here on this point in the evening, I'm going to wait for them to come back, and I'm going to sit that roost area, and I'm going to work that and call. He's not going to come in fired up. He's not going to come in gobbling, and that's when you got to be on your toes. He's going to sneak in. A lot of people are sitting on their phone, and and they're just relaxing. You got to be looking because he's going to catch you. He's going to catch you. And they like to come in from behind you. So when it comes to the evening, I'm not as aggressive. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to just put the time in, and it's boring. But
just going to wait them out.
Every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes. My dad, he was a hell of a turkey hunter. He taught me everything I know. I kind of put my own spin on it. He's not as aggressive as I am, but me and him were kind of learning together. I remember 6 years old hunting with my dad, and the first birds he ever shot were 2 jakes that come running into the decoy. I'll never forget it. But he used to tell me, especially in Massachusetts, when you hear a grouse, I'm not sure if you ever heard a grouse, it's like a thump, 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 thump. That's what you hear. He said, whenever you hear one of those, that's when you call. And I was like, oh, what if I hear one every 5 minutes? But you never do. It'll be like 25, 30, 45 minutes, and then he'd call. And that late afternoon, or that late morning, early afternoon, especially when it's hot, 2, 3 o'clock, that's when that is deadly. Just don't move, call soft every 30 minutes, and just keep your eyes open.
So what about as far as like turkeys and like their range? I mean, are you typically seeing them coming back to the same location? They're going to where they're roosting at. They're going to kind of wander off, hit their areas, and then come back in the evening.
Absolutely.
And that's
and what they're doing is they're just feeding.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. I'm sure people listening, you've seen that tom, or that, especially a tom with a hen, and you get that hen to start coming to you, and it takes her an hour and a half to move 150 yards. That's them. They're just meandering through. So as the hotter it gets, the darker I try to get, right? So if it's blazing hot, I'm not going to be out in the field.
Right.
I'm going to push into the woods where it's cooler, where there's bugs and they're scratching up in there, and part of me is I'll walk through and I see a bunch of scratching. Cool, I'm going to sit here because there's birds ranging through there during the day, and I'll sit there. And that time of day, I don't even call really, but I'll sit there and I'll get a stick and I'll scratch the leaves, and I'll just do real soft clucks and purrs. People say, don't call too much. Hens, if you ever call a hen and she is talking the entire
non-stop.
Yep. Just clucking, in a 3-note yelp, usually. Cluck, cluck, and then yuck, yuck, yuck. That's it. And it's really soft, and I will do that every 5 minutes. Just really, really soft. But I'm going to let that call go higher or louder every 25, 30 minutes. But, flock talk is huge. They're always talking. They are always talking.
So it's funny because all your hunting is you don't hunt out of a blind. You don't use decoys. You just run and gun, right?
Yep.
Which is super cool, right? Because you're not limited at that point. Because when you throw a blind out, you set a decoy up. It's either going to happen or it's not. You can't really create opportunity out of that. It's you know where they are. They're going to come in. Hopefully, you get a shot on them.
I'm not a big fan of decoys. And a lot of guys are. A lot of guys are the fan of the Jake and all this. But I've watched more toms get spooked by a Jake decoy. Because, for example, there's a property that I hunt, and it is loaded with Jakes. There's a flock of about 6 or 7 Jakes on that property. So if you put a Jake decoy out, that tom ain't coming anywhere near it because he's going to get his butt kicked.
Right.
I mean, a flock of 4 or 5 Jakes will kick the crap out of a tom. And a lot of times they're going to get kicked out. So that's the time when those toms are the ones coming in quiet, because there's so many Jakes on that property, and it just never works out well for me. So I don't run any decoys. I get to a spot where, going back to what I was saying earlier with the tom gobbles so that the hens can hear him. So when he's coming to a decoy, or not to a decoy, I'm sorry, but when he's coming in and you're getting him to come and you're talking to him and he's gobbling back at you and he's coming, what he's doing is he's trying to get to a spot where he knows that the hen can hear him and see him. That is it. And then a lot of times when he gets to that spot, that's where he's going to stay. And he's going to go back and forth. But if you get to an area and you set up strategically so that by the time he feels like, okay, she can hear me, which, he knows that she can hear him a lot further. But, okay, I'm at a spot where I know she can hear me. I know she can see me. She's dead. He's dead. He's already in gun range, and he's dead.
Right.
So a lot of times, like, a curve of a field or in a swamp. I love killing birds in a swamp. If you've never hunted birds in a swamp, it's thicker in there, and he's got to come find you. And you don't know where he's at, but he's gobbling. It sounds like it's right on top of you. And then he pops out at 15 yards. And it's just, I've missed a couple in there because I get so amped up. But, yeah, getting to an area where you know that where he knows that, all right, she can hear me, she can see me. But by that time, he's already in gun range.
Right.
Right. The knoll of a hill, like I was talking about today, just getting to where, oh, she's just over that hill. I got to come up to the top of that hill. Well, when he does that, he's in gun range.
So that's what I want to talk about too, is like I said, reading terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding terrain and how to use it towards your advantage. So here in the East Coast, right, it's very flat, but it is very thick.
Mm-hmm.
So when I refer to terrain, we're talking vegetation. It could be, drainage ditches,
Mm-hmm.
even the little hills that we got. Is there anything that you really like to look for to, put you at an advantage? Like how do you utilize terrain to your advantage, whether it's in a field or like you said, down in the swamp?
I'm looking for in a swamp, right?
Yep.
The birds in a swamp are going to have, I don't know what it's called. But it's called a strut zone. I call it, and it's thicker in there. And so he's going to pitch down and he's going to have a routine that he works during the morning. Every morning he's going to do it, and it's open. It's got good feed. If there's grass down on the bottom, it's got good feed. It's dry. A lot of times you're looking for that dry stuff. You don't want it too thick, right? Turkeys, they use their eyesight. That's the number one defense. They have binocular vision. So I'm looking for something that's not too congested. Right? Like deer, they like it congested.
Right.
Turkeys, they like it more open.
There's
right?
the room to move and see.
Exactly, and there's that where they can use their eyesight. So for me, there's really not a science to it for me. I'm looking more along the lines of where can I sit where I can fool him to think that hen's behind me, right?
Right.
So like when it comes to terrain features, it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be a thick patch of little saplings this thick, and I'm going to sit right in front of that and hope that he thinks that I'm behind it, and so he's going to try to wrap around it to get so that she can see him, and that's where I'm going to kill him here.
Right.
Stuff like that on a field edge. If there's tall grass on the edge of the field, and it comes down into a bank, into like a little gully, because a lot of those fields they've got those little ag ditches. I'm going to sit there so that he thinks I'm, oh yeah, she's down in here or something like that.
Right.
Just anything where it's got a cut through or a cut around, something like that. It's really not a science as to when it comes to terrain or anything like that. It's just get something where he can't pinpoint you.
Right. So you're using whatever's available to your advantage, whether it's a tree, whether it's a drainage ditch, it's a hill. You're just trying to get him to move in to where, he gets close enough, and that's it. Yeah. And what about as far as like movement though goes with birds, right? Like patterning a bird, like they're just, you can kind of get an idea of like where they live, right? Mm-hmm. So, their home range or whatnot. But as far as like pinpointing their movement, like
I've never been able to.
Right.
Not as well as deer.
Yeah.
Sure, I know that, they roost here.
Yep.
And they like to feed here. And then that's it. It's a turkey. They're the smartest dumb animal you'll ever meet in your life, and the smartest, most frustrating, incredible animal you'll ever hunt. So I don't really try to pattern them. You know what I mean? If I'm trying to get on a bird and figure out where they're at, I'm not really hunting where they're feeding. I'm hunting where they're at. Right. That there was saying back in the day when I was guiding was the elk are where you find them.
Weird, makes sense.
Yeah, the turkeys they're where you find them.
Right.
You have no idea. I know. I do know that they, like for example, there's property they just planted corn, and I've noticed that they're not really hitting the cornfield. Well, there's no food in it, but they're hitting winter wheat, and it's high, and it's almost 3 feet high. And you're
so
like,
interesting you say that. So as far as the winter wheat thing, they're moving into that field because that winter wheat right now is tall, like, because that's what's out by my place right now. Real tall, real green. So are they moving just around the field edge there, or
your hens aren't? Your hens are going to be right in the middle of it.
In that tall stuff?
Yeah, especially if they're nesting. It's great nesting cover. But you also got to remember there's grasshoppers in there.
Right, yeah. Tons of bugs, dude.
Tons of bugs. And a lot of times it's a cycle you got to realize is in March, they've been breeding down here. Now, Wyoming, April, they're still grouped together in huge flocks. Early, mid-May, that's when we start to get excited to have that action pack, gobbling, toms separated, all that. But here they've been gobbling and breeding since March.
Right.
So what they're looking for is a majority of your hens are already bred. But raccoons, they destroy the nest. Well, that hen's going to come back and she's going to want to get bred again. So a lot of those times on a winter wheat field, they'll skirt the edge of it, and they'll work the edge of it, and they'll gobble along the edges of it. The bird we killed this morning, he was roosted 60 yards off that wheat field.
Really? That's interesting.
Yep. And a lot of times, and especially, I think those eastern birds in the southeast, they've been hunted harder than any other bird in the world. Your Miriams are easy to call in, your Rios are easy to call in, but your easterns, that's the hardest bird to kill, in my opinion.
Really?
Because they've been hunted for so long. And those birds, what they've done, and this is the way I learned this and figured out these 2 birds that we hunted this morning, it's just by failing with them. Just by over and over failing with them. And you're just like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Well, they're not working the middle of this wheat field. They are sometimes, but not often. What are they doing? I think they're working the woods around it, and they're just working that wood line around it. They're making noise. They're gobbling, and those hens are going to come to them. They know it. They know that if there's a hen in that wants to get bred, she's going to come to me, and I'm going to do my own thing. And I'm going to make a lot of noise, and I'm going to gobble. That's what they do. That's why they didn't gobble at us. They just gobbled it. They just shot gobbled.
Right.
They're letting everybody know, hey, if you want to come, this is where we're at. And so I think the point I'm trying to make is that you just got to go.
Yeah.
You just got to go and just try it and just try something and push the envelope, because you ain't going to kill them from the couch, and you ain't going to kill them if you let them walk out of your life.
Right. So do you, you'll hunt if you have an opportunity, essentially. Right.
Yeah.
So there's not a weather pattern you look for. If you have an opportunity to be out there, you're going to go out there, or you're out there scouting or doing something active or guiding somebody.
Yes. They will gobble less on windy mornings.
Okay.
If it's heavy rain, they're going to gobble less. But they still got to get down. They still got to eat. And they're still going to try and find each other in the morning.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they're going to find each other in the morning. They're going to separate throughout the day. And then in the evening, they're going to come back and meet up together. Unless this time of year, which most of our toms are running together anyways.
Yeah. So what about as far as like calls, choosing the call? There's a lot of different options, right? And it's almost overwhelming for a lot of people. You get in, you're like, I'm going to get into turkey hunting. Then you're like, oh man, slate calls, box calls, glass, mouth, this, that, and the other. What is your go-to and what do you favor? Or does it depend on, what's going on?
My go-to, and the number one call I've killed probably over 40 birds in my life, I would say. But probably a slate call. I got a slate call. It's a Woodhaven. And the reason I like it so much is because I can be loud with it, but I can also make really subtle calls. I can cluck, I can purr with it. I would say that. Now, what I will do is if I'm using my slate call and he just doesn't seem interested, right? And that my slate, it's a more higher pitch. I've got a mouth call that I have, and it is super raspy, and I'll switch it up. On him. Or sometimes I'll be using that raspy hen sound, and then I'll switch it up to a more softer, higher pitched, and that's what fires him off, and that's what he wants, and that's what he comes into. It's all situational. But if I am working a bird and I haven't worked this bird yet, I'm running that slate call.
That's your go-to.
That's the go-to. And everybody wants to get a mouth call. They're hard to use. Box calls, they're great if you want to shoot or if you want to strike a bird from a long distance, but it's really hard to make it quiet. It's really hard to make it quiet. So a slate call, in my opinion, is the number one call. You can't go wrong with it. You can kill any bird in North America. You can kill any turkey in North America with it. It's the most versatile, easiest to use.
So you don't use like the glass calls, or you just that standard slate call?
Just a slate call. Yeah.
Do you do anything to prep it?
My wife hates it, but I use the Scotch Brite pad.
Yep.
Off of her thing. She knows it's turkey season when she goes to.
When it's gone.
When it's gone, and she's like, "Where's my?" Oh yeah, it's turkey season. It's in my husband's pocket.
Yep. That's funny,
where it's
man.
at. Yeah, and I just use that. I scratch it up, and I use Woodhaven strikers, and I'll even switch up strikers if he's not fired up, and I know I'm within that area when I'm within 100 yards of him. I'll switch it up. You know, he hasn't talked to me with this combo. All right, I'm going to switch it up and try to change it up. And I've had it work where he just fires off on that, and then that one striker that he likes, that's the one I'm going to use with, and that's the one that I kill him with. And I have noticed, and my dad taught me this as well. Change it up, change that call up. You can also change up where you're calling from.
Right.
Just a different angle on him. You know, if you're calling from point A, and he's kind of hung up, move, swing around and call from a different angle. Especially if he's hung up, and you're going to notice this in a swamp when I'm talking about that strut zone. If he's moving away from you and then he's coming back and then he's pushing back away from you, the moment he starts to go away, move up and try to get to where he last was. Because that's if you can get to an area where a bird has already been to, it's 10 times easier to call him in.
He's confident. He's already been there.
Exactly.
He's aware. Yeah.
He's confident in that area, and if you can get to where he's was originally at, it's a dangerous combination.
It's easy to get him back.
It's easier
to get him back.
Easier to get him back.
Yeah.
And I've used a slate call since I was about 9 years old. I started learning and really getting. I called my first time in when I was 14. I missed them. I was so worked up I missed them, but I was with a slate call, and I've used that. The last 2 years, I've started to get into that diaphragm.
Really?
Just a little more versatility, but my go-to is a slate call.
Yeah. So, with you, I mean, is there, as far as like gear goes, so you prefer an owl call, you like a slate call, you like an owl call to locate them. Slate call is your go-to, then you'll run a mouth call just to change it up. You'll change up strikers. What about as far as like gear wise, is there anything else you're running? You run a vest? Do you run a specific, like a little chair or seat, or?
No, I run a vest that's probably like 10 years old. Just
falling apart.
The pad, I don't even know why I have it anymore, because at 5 minutes and my butt's already asleep and numb.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'm pretty basic, man.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
simple.
basic. Yeah. What I'm typically bringing turkey hunting is the things I need to kill a turkey: a shotgun, a call, and my bino harness, because I like to have my binos wherever I'm at. So, like this morning, turkey vest. I usually run my slate call in my pants pocket, and my bino harness, and that's it.
Just super simple.
Just super simple.
I like it. Straight to the point. I mean, that's how I like, because what you see a lot of people do is they get really infatuated with the gear, which is cool, man, right? It's always fun, right?
Absolutely.
When you get something new, it's always exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And that might reignite that, that little bit more passion, or get you motivated for a little bit, because who doesn't like playing with new stuff? But I think one of the common mistakes I see across the board when it comes to just hunting in general is the reliance on gear and equipment to get it done, when that in fact is, the least problem. Obviously you need, your firearm or your bow, that's going to work, but the least important. It comes down to, one, understanding land, understanding terrain, the animal themselves, how they feed, what they feed on. I mean, there's so much more that people, forget about.
Yes.
And then become reliant on a gear or, their phone, right? The GPSs. I mean, there's so much stuff, and then you forget how to read land and, walk through. One of the big things, like your woodsmanship skills, is just being able to, move through the woods quietly.
Yep, absolutely. I told you about this too, but I got a good buddy. He's a gear guy.
Which we love him, man. Don't get me wrong.
We love him. And he's got all the really nice camo. And it was deer season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is good.
And I'm like, I'm just running mismatched camo. I'm getting it done. I had a hell of a deer season this year. But it started to rain, and I was soaked. And I sat
and
there
miserable.
And I sat there for another 30 minutes just because I didn't want to admit that my gear failed me.
Dude, so there's nothing worse. So when we talk like deer season, like fall, winter time, good gear will allow you to hunt longer, right? Exactly. Which is important.
Absolutely.
Right. I do not discount that at all. Right. I think that's very important. A good set of hunting layers and outer shell and boots are critical when it comes to guys that are getting in the thick of it and hunting long and multiple days. Quality gear is king. Yep. I'm talking about relying too much on the trinkety little things, right? All the different, when you go out turkey hunting, you probably don't need a water purification system, a fire starter, 2 compasses. It's just exactly. But that's what happens is people, you get a pack, right? You're like, I need to take a pack. And you're like, well, there's these pockets. What else can I put in? I might as well take something else. And then before you know it, you're overloaded with stuff. And then you're noisier and it's just more stuff to forget, lose, or leave in the woods.
Yep. This morning, my buddy, he had a backpack. He brings it everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we sat down, he put that backpack down, and he said, I said, if he doesn't answer me, we're moving. If this bird doesn't answer me, we're moving. He said, okay. And I called to him, he didn't answer to me. And I said, okay, we're moving. And he's like, I'm going to leave my bag here. Like,
perfect.
Right, sounds good. Perfect.
Should have left it in the truck.
Yeah, should have just left it in the truck. Let's do it. And but I'll tell you what, that's a double-edged sword. Because I've been out in the woods and I'm like, man, I'm really thirsty.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. I guess I'll just die.
I'll just die or drink this water and I'll get hysteria.
Wish I would have had my purification system now.
Yeah. But hey,
dang, eat my own words.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
We were always, for elk hunting, we were always over.
That's a little different though, because you're not hunting out of a truck, right? You're going on multiple days. You're in the wilderness. You're setting up base camps.
And you're in some wild stuff.
Yeah.
You're in some wild stuff.
It's very remote.
Yeah. But for turkey hunting, I mean, majority of the time you're walking 200-300 yards from your truck. If you're on private property, you're walking 200 yards from your truck.
Right.
So I've never been concerned with gear when it comes to that. And good camo. But if you have great camo and you move, it doesn't matter.
Dude, that's the biggest thing, the biggest secret. There's like, what's the best camo? It's just be still.
Be still.
Be still. Don't move.
Trees don't move.
That's right.
Especially when it's windy, but they don't walk and they don't whip and turn their head around.
Because it's wild though, like how such a small movement is so easy to be picked up in the woods. I mean, it's very, very easy if you're just looking, because you're like, hey, we got a turkey coming into the left. And then the buddy you're with is like, huh? And you're like, bro, that's the end. You just ruined it. That's my kids.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that was funny. Me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody.
That was me with my dad.
It's hard not to. You're like, ugh.
No. And you look with your eyes.
Yeah.
I had a bird the second bird I killed this year. He gobbled at us. Another mistake, and I'll make this up. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but one mistake a lot of people make is they'll have a bird fired up and they'll go quiet and they'll get nervous. And a bird going quiet to me is not something, or is, like I was saying earlier, the moment he does something I don't want him to do, I'm moving on him.
Right.
Him being quiet is not an issue to me.
So that's what I wanted to talk about, like the common mistakes that you see or your hard lessons. So that's one of the common mistakes you see is whenever a bird goes quiet.
People move.
People move and get up.
And they're like, oh, he's gone. No. A lot of time he's sneaking in. So if a bird goes quiet, my wife, and I love my wife to death, and she's been getting after it. But he goes quiet, and you could see her when that bird goes quiet, you could see that excitement kind of leave. And she's like, oh, he's not coming. That doesn't mean anything. He could be coming, and he's just committed, and he's like, all right, I'm coming. And a lot of times on pressured birds, too, that's how they've caught people. The people say, oh, birds have a short memory. They don't. They know. They know when they're being hunted. You have a 3 or 4 year old bird. They're not stupid. And
right.
They are. They're dumb, but
right.
they're good at surviving. You know what I mean? So what they do is that bird goes quiet, and then they get complacent. And they move their head, and that bird catches them. And I don't think us as humans can understand that because we're not on the bottom of the pecking order. You know,
this is true, right? So we're not the prey. We're not constantly being hunted. I mean,
if we were in Jurassic Park and there were velociraptors and T-Rexes running around everywhere, I guarantee you we would be more in tune with what's going on about.
Well, you look at human beings as a whole now. I mean, how many people actually go outside? I mean, you can just look around at society. I mean, we're so disconnected. And, you know, one of my other buddies, Joe Long, we talk about it, you know, I've talked about it multiple times on the podcast. It's, you know, for most people, like, this is why I like going out of town for a hunt, right? Because you're multiple days. It's not sporadic. You know, it takes a little bit of time to disconnect and reconnect with nature, you know, and understand and see how things move, you know, understand, you know, wind and animal movement and stuff. Cause when you're constantly locked inside or, you know, we live behind a screen majority of our life. And then you go out there and try to, you know, kill an animal. They were so in tune with their surroundings.
And you overcomplicate it.
Oh, big time.
You overcomplicate it. You know what I mean? You're thinking, oh, this is going to do this. And this. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know. Just get out there and hunt. Just go out there and hunt. You know what I mean? Even if, this year we've had terrible hunts. When I say a terrible hunt, it's not a terrible hunt. There's no terrible hunt. But you go out there and it's dead quiet and there's not a bird talking and you're just sitting out there and it's still beautiful. It's still great. But then you go back out there and the next morning they're fired up and bang, we whack up. You know, that's twice. It's happened twice this year where we've had just a really slow hunt and the next morning we go and do the same thing and there's birds all over us. And you know, we call in 5 different birds, you know. It's
Is it, and they're still in the same area then? They're just not as active, huh?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. Wild. I guess like everybody else though, right? We have those days where we just get up and just
you just got to go.
Right.
Yeah. But back to, you know, with this movement thing is I've noticed a lot of times, especially on birds that are more pressured, they're going to gobble at you, say, hey, I'm coming. And then they'll quiet down. And that second bird I shot this year, he gobbled up the top of the ridge, and I was kind of just watching out of the corner of my eye, and I caught that movement out of the corner of my eye. And a lot of people are going to turn their head like this.
Right.
Well, I just, turn their head, and that bird got you. But I could, looking out of the corner of my eye, I could see that there's something coming, so I kind of turned, just a tiny bit, just enough so you can focus out of the corner of your eye. And there he is. And he's standing there at 12, 15 yards. And don't move. And I could see him. He walked behind a tree. Now, when that bird gives you the opportunity to move, you got to do it.
Right.
You got to do it.
And you typically don't get a lot of opportunities with that, right? You got to take advantage of whenever it's presented.
Yep. He walked behind a cypress. It was about 3 foot wide. And I mean, I just swung. I mean, the whole gun. I turned my whole body around and just got ready. And so when he gives you the opportunity to move.
Yep.
Get there, get done, make it quick. Don't try to go slow. If he's within range and he's got you, move when you can.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that comes with your woodsmanship skills, right? So you understand when the opportunity presents itself, when you can move and when you cannot. I think that's the same thing when it comes to drawing your bow, right? You know when an animal comes in, if you can't just draw that bow whenever you feel like it. It's the opportunity has got to be there. They've got to be unaware of you. They can't be on super high alert, or they've got to have stepped behind a tree or something. And because, I mean, I've blown it multiple times doing that.
Absolutely.
You know, it's tough whenever you're hunting low or, you know, the cover's not great. And you go and, you know, you feel like it's the right time, and then they look up, peg you, and then they're gone.
And they're gone.
Yep.
And that's when you learn.
Exactly.
You know what
you
I
learn
mean?
quick too.
You learn quick.
Because you're like, I just spent all this time out here, and this was my opportunity, and boom, blew it.
Yeah, and it just you're gonna learn more by failing than you ever will by your success.
That's right.
But with that, just when you can move. When that bird gives you that opportunity, when he walks behind a tree, get your gun up. Now, granted, if you're working, I call it working. Stay busy, stay working. Stay vigilant of what's going on. Don't get complacent. Don't sit there on your phone and do all this, but stay vigilant and watch what's going on. So if you're doing that, your gun should already be up. Right. I rested on my knee. I put the gun on my knee so that all I have to do is lift my back, the
stock of the rifle.
Yeah, the stock of the shotgun. But if you're working and you're actively hunting, you know what I mean? Sitting out in the woods and not paying attention to anything going on isn't really hunting. It's just sitting up with your back against a tree.
Yeah, sometimes the days are just like that, though. You're just out there and you're like, whatever, I'm here. And it's about what you're getting from me.
And then you look behind you, and that's when you get caught.
Every time. Yeah, especially whenever you're like last minute, you're like, oh, you're rushed to get out, right? You got home late. You're like, might as well go sit this last hour. And then that's when the magic happens and you're not ready.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, exactly. There's no deer, turkeys, elk. They have no agenda.
Right.
Well, they do. You're not in it.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
not in it. So you never know. So I always, especially if that bird if I've heard him gobble and he's within 100 yards, and I haven't heard him gobble and tell me that he's going away or doing something, I'm not moving.
Right.
And I'm assuming that he is sneaking in.
Yeah.
And I give myself 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So the moment he gobbles and I realize, okay, it's been a minute since he's gobbled at me, I check the time.
Start the
watch. I start 20 minutes. You're not moving into it for 20 minutes. Now, if I hear him gobble and he's pushed off 100 yards and he's going the opposite way, okay, yeah, I'm moving.
Right.
But if you don't know where he's at and he hasn't given you the verification that, hey, I'm gone, assume that he's coming to you.
Yeah.
Assume that he's coming to
you. Give yourself an extra minute. Because I think that's one thing too. When I talk to a lot of people is, when it comes to mistakes, is doing exactly like you said, is just jumping the gun and being like, oh, time to get out of here. I mean, I think most people, because we're naturally impatient, right? Especially whenever you had that adrenaline dump, they're like, oh, they're here. And then all of a sudden they give you that cold shoulder, what feels like that cold shoulder, and they're, you think they're gone. And it turns out they're not. They're just playing you.
Yeah. And there's one time I remember, and this was a huge lesson for me and my dad. And like I said, my dad and I, that's how we bonded, is we hunted together. That's what we did. We had a bird working us. He gobbled, and I'm sure my dad would have killed that bird if I wasn't there, right? But I'm 10 years old. You got a 10-year-old kid with you. It's not, not as patient as my father was, but I was ready to go. He's gone. It's been 20 minutes, and he's like, all right. So I get up and I walk out of we're sitting up against a tree, and I get up and I walk out into the corner of the field, and that bird's standing there at 60 yards at full strut, and he just comes out of full strut and just goes back to normal and was gone. And you're like, if I had waited 10 more minutes, we would have had him.
Yeah, I think I tell myself too, whenever with anything, I'm saying, oh, well, I've already been this long. I might as well give myself 5 more. Mm-hmm. Give myself 5 more minutes just to be on the safe side. Should have gave myself 7. Dang it.
Yep. And that's it. It's hunting.
Yeah, that's it. I mean? Nature of the beast.
Yeah. But if I don't know that he's gone, I'm not moving.
Yeah. So any other mistakes that you see? I mean, because you take a lot of guys out, so you have a lot of different experience levels that you hunt with, because you're big on helping everybody. From what I've seen, you're very willing to take somebody out on a hunt with you and put them on an animal, a bird, whatever it is. I mean, is there any other common mistakes that you see from guys or girls
besides not being aggressive enough?
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, not being aggressive enough, not moving. Especially with late season birds, everybody says, oh, don't overcall, you're calling too much. I think that's a common misconception as well. Especially late season, everybody's saying, oh yeah, you can't call, they're call shy. There ain't a call shy turkey out there. There's not. And the reason is that, like I was saying earlier, if you call a hen in and you have a hen come into you, right, what is she doing the entire time? She's clucking, she's purring, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So I think people overcomplicate their calling. So it's not that the bird is call shy. He doesn't hear birds cutting and doing all this crazy stuff. He hears them clucking and yelping.
Right.
That's it. So I think people are over aggressive with their calling in regards of the type of call that they're doing. If you want to kill a bird in North Carolina, if you want to kill a bird in Wyoming, in Missouri, I've killed them in Missouri with that, Virginia, whatever, wherever you're at, you want to kill a bird, every bird in North America, every turkey in North America will cluck and will yelp. So especially late season and these birds that are overpressured, people get too wrapped up in the overcalling thing. Just cluck and purr.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
That makes sense.
Just and I'll just sit there and cluck for a minute and a half. The bird I shot last year, it was third week of season on public. I walked by like 3 or 4 shotgun shells. I got in there late. I had to get the kids on the bus, and so I knew that there'd been hunting pressure in there. But I sat down and I just clucked, and I'd do a 3-note yelp, and I did that for a minute and a half probably, and a bird fired off, and that bird was pressured. And then before you know it, and that's all I did, and I finished with him with that, is I just clucking a double cluck every once in a while, but soft, and he came in. So I think a common mistake people make is that they overcomplicate calling.
Right.
Phil Robertson, this isn't about turkeys, but it's about ducks, and it's the same thing. He said ducks, they wouldn't place in a duck calling competition. It's true. A turkey ain't gonna place in a turkey calling competition. But if you can cluck and you can yelp, you can kill any turkey out there if he wants to get killed.
So key takeaways: learn those two calls, and just basically get out there and get after it.
Yeah.
Be aggressive within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. That all makes sense, man.
With aggressiveness too is the moment he verifies, you have to verify what he's doing, right? A lot of times I'll sit there and I'll move up and I'll wait. And I had a buddy with me this morning. He's like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm gonna wait for him to gobble one more time, and then we're gonna move. And I hear him gobble, and I'm like, okay, I've verified that that's what he's doing. Is he's pushing left, and we're gonna go and cut around him. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna move until I can verify that. So if you're gonna be aggressive, make sure you know exactly what he's doing. You know what I mean? You can't be aggressive if he's not gobbling.
Right.
So if they're not gobbling, sit on your butt and wait.
Yeah. I got a good piece of advice for people out there. So if you're hunting out of a blind, make sure you practice shooting out of your blind, especially with the bow. Absolutely. So I'm going to give you an awesome story I have from my person. So this has been years ago. So I set up a blind in the bottom of a field edge that was tucked down a hillside. And I had seen turkeys out there, right? So I'd seen a bunch of them. So I'm like, okay, I got permission. I went out there, threw a blind up, set out my little decoys, and dude, sure enough, here he comes strutting in, buddy. And I'm talking 7 yards in front of me. He's right there. I'm like, done, son. Man, I go to draw this bow back. My elbow hits the rear of the blind, bounces back, indies my arrow through the blind, about rips the entire wall out.
There you go.
And that was the end, man. It was amazing.
Can you imagine from his perspective?
Dude.
Just all chaos at 7 feet. Yeah.
Just chaotic.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do not know what just happened, but it about ripped the entire damn wall out of the blind. Yeah. It was amazing. I can imagine if somebody drove by and saw that, this blind just like collapsing in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was a good time. So if you're getting in, if you got a blind, make sure you practice shooting out of your blind, because don't make the same mistake I did.
If you're running a gun, which is what I call it,
yep,
and you have to use the bathroom, make sure you button your pants back up.
Oh,
that is another one. Me and my dad were hunting, and I was like, Dad, I gotta pee real quick, and he's like, all right. Well, I go pee, and then a bird fires off while I'm peeing. I'm like, oh heck yeah! So we sit down. We get all ready to rock and roll, and I forgot to button my pants up. And this bird comes in, and my dad shoots it. Wham! And the bird falls, but starts to like try to get up. So I, like every turkey hunter, you shoot him, and then you get up and you run to him. Well, I am running, and my pants fall down to my ankles.
Barrel into the dirt.
I tell you, I did about 3 rolls, and my dad watched the entire thing. So me and this turkey are rolling around on the ground right next to each other.
Both got shot.
Yeah, it was awful.
That's
awful.
amazing.
Yeah.
I think everybody's got at least one good story.
You have to.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Stupid.
All right, man. We're right at an hour. Let's wrap this thing up. So recap it, man. Keep it simple. Don't be reliant on the gear.
Don't let that bird walk out of your life.
That's right. That's the number one quote of this episode. Don't let that bird walk out of your life.
Yep.
I like that.
So I guess we'll break down 4 or 5 things. I don't think you can overcall a turkey. When it comes to that, it's just simple calling, soft, quiet. That bird can hear you. I promise you. The bird can hear you. Don't let them walk out of your life. Stay vigilant. And get close enough to matter, right? Be close enough to matter. He ain't going to come to you if you're 400 yards away.
Right.
Not going to do it, especially late season. And you can't kill him from the couch. Just go. If you have a rough day and they're not gobbling, or you have a bird and he doesn't work yet, just go. Go the next day. And then the next day, if you have work, if you have to do a podcast at 9 o'clock in the morning, go.
Go anyway.
Screw it. I can hunt till 8 o'clock.
Yep.
You never know what's going to happen until you try to do it.
That's right.
And that's what I've lived my life by.
Get after it.
Get after it.
That's
and
the
get
best
it done.
approach, man. Best way to, I think, approach life, man. Just go ahead. Don't overthink it. Don't, overanalyze. Just go. Just go. That's great. Well, good deal, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on this morning, man. You're full of tons of great information, man. Tons of experience. Just an outdoorsman, man, that just really gets it done, puts in the work, and it really shows. I mean, it's always fun talking to you. You've given a ton of the guys here really great advice and created a bunch of opportunity for guys here. Yeah. So we're all appreciate, having you on board, man, and, giving us that insight.
Absolutely.
So
full of it. That's all it's just eat, sleep, and breathe hunting.
Your entire life, man.
Absolutely.
That and fishing.
Heck
fishing. Of a fisherman too.
I try, yeah.
Yeah, man. So. I know Gavin was all about it, so he likes fishing with you.
Yeah. Well, we get on fish.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because if I take him, I'm like, bro, I don't know, dude. We ain't getting on fish. We went last night. He caught a bunch of bluegill. So
there you go.
That's a win, man.
There you go.
He did it himself, though. I watched.
Hey, it's all right.
It is what it is.
Getting on it.
That's it, man. Well, that's it, guys. Appreciate you guys listening. That's another episode of the Archery Project, where we discuss all things archery, bow hunting, hunting tactics, and everything. So appreciate you guys following along. Make sure you share. If you've got any comments, drop some comments. Let us know. Give us some good turkey hunting stories, and we will see you guys in the next episode.